everybody to the Anti-Think Tank.
Hey everybody, Ryan here. Just wanted to stop real quick at the start of the video and say, hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the video. This is our top 5 new TV seasons of 2024. Some ground rules that has to begin in 2024. Unfortunately, this rule is going to completely and totally obliterate the likes of Free Run Beyond Journey's End, which likely would have been in the number 1 or 2 spots of both of our lists had it been able to be qualified, but gonna have to wait for Crunchyroll to get its shit together for that point. But anyway, with that out of the way, here we go, right into the list.
Pasta ragazza, gentlemen!
Do you want to go over like your honorable mentions yet, or no?
You do honorable mentions first.
So I don't have 2. One of them being Free Run, and the other one being House of the Dragon Season 2. I think that they Free Run absolutely deserves to win Anime of the Year for the year that it came out.
Yeah,
which is strange because it's been 2 years since it originally came out, basically, and we still haven't gotten the Anime Awards to recognize it at all.
Which is just a big problem, and especially on the part of Crunchyroll, because they fucking suck.
That's fair. The other one for House of the Dragon, I think that a lot of the slower paced character writing works very, very well and helps to actually expand upon the characters that are in that story immensely. Damon goes from like a very respectable like upper B, lower A character to like an S tier character, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Totally.
A lot of the recontextualization we get around just a ton of the scenes throughout it towards the end of the season, as well as the introduction of new characters, creates an insanely good story. I do think it's weaker than Season 1 overall.
I think Season 1 is the kind of thing where if it got canceled, it would still feel like such a wonderfully written story. Season 2, I feel like if there's not a continuation to Season 2, Season 2 is a significantly weaker work.
Yeah. Which is why it didn't make my top 5, but it is in the honorable mentions. Now, I didn't watch nearly as many shows from this year as Ian did, so your honorable mention might be going a bit low. I will say, before we go any further, spoilers for all the shows that are in our top 5. We're probably not going to go too deep into the honorable mentions, so you might not have to worry about them, but if we bring up a show that you haven't watched yet, we are going to go into spoilers, so be sure to keep a lookout for that. If you want to skip ahead of the video, feel free to.
Yeah, pretty much when we get to our top 5, we're going to be talking about specifics with the shows, but with the honorable mentions, we will not. And for me, I have one dishonorable mention, and that is Evil Season 4.
That's fair.
Evil Season 4 is the most malignant, repugnant piece of shit I've ever seen!
Been saving that one for a while, huh?
Honorable mentions. Fallout. I don't think Fallout is nearly as good as people said it was. I watched it when it came out. I believe it came out with I don't remember if it came out all the episodes at once or week by week, but I was watching it like when it happened, and I thought it was really good. I did not think it was absolutely incredible. Did you ever finish it?
So I've gotten through the first 2 episodes now. I haven't gotten too deep into it, but it's been good so far. Michael Emerson is always a fantastic addition to any cast.
I think Fallout is a good show, but people talk about it like it's absolutely incredible, and I didn't quite get that. But I am looking forward to Season 2. I really am. Other honorable mentions, True Detective Season 4. True Detective has one of the greatest seasons of television of all time with Season 1, and then 2 is ass, 3 is pretty good, 4 was fine. It really dropped the ball at the end, but I do really like the character writing for a few of the characters in there, and I thought there was some good stuff, and I love the atmosphere in True Detective Season 4. Having a completely, nighttime Alaska was really, really cool for a setting. I have Dandadan as an honorable mention. I thought Dandadan was amazing. I thought it was really, really fun, really well animated anime from this year. The only reason I have it lower is I kind of would like to get further into the show to get a more of a I want more reveals about like the aliens and ghosts before I really start to like absolutely love the show. I think I need more world building with Don Don, but I love the characters. Momo and Ken are great. I have Orb. Orb is a really good anime about heliocentrism. Its only problem is that it has a trope that it's done 3 times now that I loved the first time, and then the second time I thought it was fine, and when the third time it happened, I was over it, and now I'm a little frustrated. But the show has really started to ramp up again with episode 14. Konosuba Season 3, not the biggest Konosuba fan, and I thought Season 3 was weaker than the first 2 seasons, but I did still like it. Monsters Season 2, Lyle and Eric Menendez. I knew nothing about Lyle and Eric Menendez going in, but I thought that season was really fantastic. Especially episode 4, I think it was, called The Hurt Man. Only Murders in the Building, Season 4. Best season of the show so far. Love the mystery. Absolutely love the chemistry between the cast. The Boys, Season 4. A lot of problems, but the stuff it does good I like. What We Do in the Shadows, Season 6, the final season of one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. It almost made the list. I have it at what would be 7. It's a vampire comedy based on a movie by Taika Waititi, and Season 6 was a great send-off for the show, I thought. And my final honorable mention is Smiling Friends, Season 2. A truly wonderful batch of episodes.
Alright. So you want to start off with number 5?
Yes. My number 5 is Squid Game, Season 2. This season gets the honor of being a season of television that I was not excited for at all. When Season 1 ended, I think Season 1 of Squid Game is like really masterfully done. I think it's wonderful. But I was never a fan of the last scene. Because I felt like it was like, okay, if we get a Season 2, we can work something off of this. But I thought, okay, let's just make it a 1-season thing. And going into Season 2, I was not excited. And I ended up being really blown away by how necessary and wonderfully written the season ended up being. And one of the big complaints I see a lot of people having is that the season is a lot slower and focuses less on the games and carnage. I think that's the biggest strength of Squid Game Season 2, is that the first game doesn't actually start until like 2.5 hours into the season, and by the time you get to it, you're really connected to the characters that have been built up. Like, I think that Gi-hun is one of the best main characters in modern television. I think he's really, really, really interesting. And the whole cast, everyone they introduced this season is great. And it takes a character from Season 1 that I thought was really interesting, In-ho, the frontman, and elaborates on him in such an interesting way. Like, for me, the frontman is just my favorite character now. I think he's incredibly written, and what they decided to do with him is, like, absolutely great. And I think Squid Game Season 2 is great. The games that are there are excellent, really, really tense. I actually think that the merry-go-round is the most tense game in the entire series. I actually think it's more tense than the Marbles game from Season 1, Episode 6. I love the season. Its biggest problem is obviously that it ends, it's incomplete. When it ends, you're like, okay, this definitely feels like the first half of a season, but that's fine because Season 3 is coming out in June, and the cliffhanger that it leaves us on is so huge and so good that I cannot wait for Season 3. I think Season 2 is awesome.
All right. My number 5 is going to be Delicious in Dungeon.
Okay.
I think that... So it's structured in a very, very specific way. The first half of Season 1 of Delicious in Dungeon is basically all characterization. All the first, 12 to 14 episodes, somewhere in that range, is all just, hey, here are characters, here's them interacting with one another, and here's them doing their goofy little shtick of, finding a monster to eat. They're going to go down into the dungeon and try and delve deeper and deeper and deeper. They do have a goal in mind of getting Laios' sister back, but there's never a feeling of intense worry in the first 12 to 14 episodes.
I've only seen the first 2. I liked the first 2, but that's all I know.
Once you get to about that halfway point, because at this point it has been pretty much explained to you that death does not matter too much. If they die, they can be brought back for a fee, but they will be brought back.
Yeah.
Around halfway in, things change.
Okay.
It gets explained that if somebody is consumed by a monster, you would need a corpse to be able to bring the soul back to the plane.
Okay.
And with the absence of a body, you can only do so much. And so then that sets up for the entire second half of the first season, which takes one event about the halfway point, and that event basically becomes like the Steins Gate point.
Okay.
The one that you know from Steins Gate, where after it happens, like the show is fundamentally changed.
I do know that, like, I heard some people talking about Dungeon Meshi while it was happening. I remember, like, somewhere around, like, the show getting more popular, it does feel like around, like, 12 weeks in, like, 13 weeks in, that people just started talking about it more. And I started seeing, like, way more people saying, like, oh, you have to watch this now. So.
Yeah. It has probably one of my favorite casts of any show that came out in the last, like, 5 or 6 years. Each and every one of them has such amazing character building. Senshi is great. Chuck is fantastic. Laios, probably one of the best. Like, I'm generally not one for, like, oh, it's representation, but, like, Laios represents autism very, very, very well. With his incredible hyperfixation and his complete lack of social awareness, causing a ton of issues.
Gotcha.
And then they have probably the best, and I quote, cat girl of any show I've ever seen.
I'll be watching Dungeon Meshi very, very soon. Like, ridiculously soon. That's gonna be great. That's gonna be really fun. So I know you're about to cut that off because you don't want to turn into a zombie, but I gotta know what that hand tastes like, boy!
In the show, they eat monsters, right? They don't eat people. They eat monsters.
I haven't seen Dungeon Meshi, bitch! Give me that hand! So by some miracle of fate, we both happen to have the same show at number 4. And that's right. Actually, I think I got a little idea here to show you what it is.
Sword, isn't it? You get the fucking sword. Yeah, he's got the sword.
Nah, but Shogun was great. Shogun is both our number 4.
Shogun. So, I have issues with the finale and the fact that apparently, according to some sources, they are trying to get like a season 2.
First, it is happening. Season 2 of Shogun is happening, which sounds absolutely brain dead.
We're both going to be sitting here next year like, alright, season 2 of Shogun is my number 3 spot.
Like, I don't know how they're going to do that. Like, their best bet is just to not focus on any of these characters and just, like, genuinely just use this as a springboard to just, like, skip ahead 100 years into a different era.
I imagine they're going to go through our feudal lord's rise to power and, like, finish out his plotline for season 2 and then maybe after that do something else. But, frankly, for the ending that we got, it was a good send-off to the cast, so I don't see why we would focus on Blackthorn. I don't see why we would focus on anybody outside of our boy.
Like, but we're not here to speculate about season 2. We're here to talk about how fucking good season 1 was.
Like I said, I have one issue with it, and it is just the fact that we didn't get to see him sitting on the throne. That's it.
Well, the show really builds towards the conflict between Toranaga and Ishido, and we were both personally let down by it, even though the actual, like, the way it was done was cool. I respect the way they did it, but it was unsatisfying to me.
So, like, my issue with it is that our POV character was not the protagonist up until the very last episode. Like, the protagonist was Toranaga.
Yeah.
It just was. Toranaga was the protagonist up until the last episode where it completely cuts him out outside of, like, 2 scenes and focuses entirely back on Blackthorn again.
And Toranaga actually, after episode 8, which is one of my favorite TV episodes of the year, The Abyss of Life, is such a good episode. Toranaga gets as interesting as he ever does at the end of episode 8, doesn't appear at all in episode 9, and then doesn't appear in episode 10 until the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, like, they basically take what should have been, like, a defining character moment, setting up for the penultimate, for, like, the climax of his story. And the climax of his story effectively happens off-screen.
And I find that incredibly frustrating. However, it is a masterfully done character drama, one of the most stunning pieces of historical fiction we've ever seen on our television screens.
The effects in the show are excellent. It has better effects than a lot of modern, like,
Movies.
multi-million-dollar movies.
Like,
Throughout the entire 10-episode span, so 10 hours on a smaller budget looks better than 2 hours on an insane budget.
Like, it's absurd. I mean, every landscape shot, every, like, shot, like, from the air, the ocean, when they're in a boat, there's not a lot of action, but when it is there, like, sword fights, cannon duels, stuff on horseback, it looks amazing.
And it is one of the few historical fictions that actually focuses on the fact that, like, a lot of the time, armies aren't defeated in combat. They kind of just die because the planet is built to kill us. Like,
Yeah, the earthquake scene?
the earthquakes, the water, like, any single time a natural disaster occurs, people are gonna drop in the dozens. It is, like, there are it is a core theme of the show that death is just out of your hands.
Yeah, that is a huge theme of Shogun, is that, like you want an honorable death, but a lot of these characters, one in particular, Toranaga's son, do not get anything resembling like an honorable death.
Bro basically got the fucking slip and slide ending, walked into Bed Bath & Beyond, slipped on a fucking pebble and cracked his skull on a rock.
It was unintentionally funny, but it was so well written.
Like, it was so shocking, because in the moment, neither of us knew what was about to happen. We're like, oh, that the dude he's against, he's just fucked it. And he's like, I am going to honor my family! The other dude just gets up and fucking grittied on him, basically, and walked out of the door.
Toranaga's brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally gritties on his nephew, and then, like, doesn't appear again. I don't remember
He doesn't, he just leaves. He just leaves the fucking plot.
He was great. The show is great. The character writing is so good. I love John Blackthorne and Mariko and Toranaga and Yabu Shige. Yabu is a great, great character.
Who is completely overlooked until he becomes, like, probably one of the best characters in the show.
Yeah. Like he starts
the stare down is the scene we're both thinking of.
Stare down with who? Oh shit! Wait, no, that's Hiromatsu.
That's Hiromatsu?
Yes.
Yabushige is the dude who's like, I want to boil him in oil, and then...
Yes.
Yeah, Yabushige is just interesting at the start of it.
Yeah.
But,
Yabushige is awesome. He gets a great death, but on his note, him mentioning that, Hiromatsu, Toranaga's best friend, the elderly man, he is, like, one of my favorite characters, and he has the best scene in the entire show. The scene where
that gets better immediately in the following scene.
Yes! He looks at Toranaga and he's like, okay, I've known Toranaga my entire life. He would not crash out like this. This is a plan. He needs for these people to think that he's weak. And for that, I need to do this. And so he kills himself, commits seppuku for his bro. And it was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Alright, and that about does number 4.
When he said, Buntaro, second me, and Buntaro was like, I don't want to do it.
One last thing to say, though. Why the fuck did Guntaro have so many goddamn plot lines just to not have any execution?
Rest in peace to my man Guntaro. That man was a fucking, like, B-tier character in a sea of excellently written characters. Like, I do like him pulling the boat out of the water at the end, but that was not enough to justify so much Buntaro screen time, dude. Aye, Toranaga Yoshi, the most interesting character in the show. I will become Emperor of Japan. I will become Shogun. And I will never have my screen time taken by anyone.
Sir, this is HBO. We're giving your screen time to the white guy.
No! Angie! Angie! At number 3, you know I gotta have. I forgot. House of the Dragon Season 2. Alright, House of the Dragon Season 2. I know I said some, you know, a little frustrating things about it earlier. And I do share some of the criticisms that he has of it. But I think the highs in House of the Dragon Season 2 are so high that, like, it wormed its way into being my 3rd favorite season of television this year. I had so much fun, like, week to week, discussing the episodes with Ryan and my sister and my mom and other people who were watching the show. The character work for Daemon and Rhaenyra, and even smaller characters like Kristen Cole, was so good. And the season took 2 characters that I didn't really think too much of in season 1 and really made them super interesting. And that's Aegon and Larys. I think they're both super interesting characters now. And the way their characters end, with Larys basically telling Aegon, if you stay here, like, your brother is going to find a way to get rid of you. And them leaving, I think, was like a very interesting way for the season to end. One thing I don't understand, like, criticism-wise, is people saying that, like, this season doesn't have any payoff or, like, nothing happens in it. Okay, the king literally gets injured and leaves and gets replaced. That's huge. That's a huge thing. Alicent decides to leave. Rhaenyra's entire character changes. Tons of characters die. Like, Aemond essentially takes over King's Landing. And episode 7... Rhaenys died. Rhaenys, like, exploded. In episode 4, the Red Dragon and the Gold, which is amazing. And episode 7, the Red Sowing, is one of my favorite episodes of anything adapted from George R.R. Martin's work. I genuinely think that the dragon choosing scene is just... I could not believe I was watching that on my television.
And you have one person who basically just subverts the entire plan and yells down a dragon and becomes chosen, and the other one falls into shit and gets confused for its baby.
And that writing was just so good. Like, the terror from that dragon, it was almost, there was like that huge, like, one single camera shot of Hugh, like, trying to hide.
Fuck.
And everyone in the background getting burned and eaten. It was so terrifying. And then having, like, Hugh, like, look at the dragon and hit it with a, oh! Oh! And the dragon be like, alright, fine, fuck. I'll follow you, it's whatever. Like, that was amazing. Like, Ulf somehow stumbling into this. Rhaenyra recruiting the dragon seeds, the, like, bastard Targaryen children. I just thought it was an incredibly written season. I love the politics of it. The effects were amazing. There was one goofy shot of, like, Aegon on his dragon that you could tell was green screen. Yeah. Other than that, the effects were basically, like, perfect.
There is one thing that holds back season 2 overall, and it's Jace's existence.
Jace is horrible. As you're going to find out later, there are 2 characters, prominent characters named Jace, that happened in TV this year. And this was not one of the good ones. Rhaenyra's son is a dickhead. The way that he literally, like, had the idea for the bastard Targaryen children, and then when it started to not work, he was like, Mother, how could you do this?
When it was my plan, it was so fantastic. But when it was your plan, I can't help but just feel that it was slightly inferior.
And honestly, kind of a prick. Not a fan of that guy. But yeah, House of the Dragon Season 2, my 3rd. I thought it was awesome. Loved the season. Season 2. Yeah.
You're a gooner, Daemon. You're a little piss baby. No one likes you.
No.
Your brother comes from the afterlife with a message. No one liked you as a baby, either. We tried to play soccer with your corpse, but unfortunately you never fucking died.
I am the king of Westeros.
You are not.
For 3rd place on my list, I'm probably going to go with Has Been Hotel. 1.
Go on. I completely forgot my honorable mentions. I have Has Been Hotel. That season was amazing. I love that.
So the first 2 episodes are decent, like they're fun, but it's from the 3rd one onward throughout the season that it just becomes incredibly good to me. Like, episode to episode, we get like angel dust, terrible, terrible life. We get Loser Baby. We get the introduction of Lucifer.
Yeah.
We get the going to heaven plot line all the way up to the final battle, in which we have one of the most satisfying death scenes of TV this year.
I think we'll always be like, I will always fall hook, line, and sinker for a like comedic side character getting like a big moment, and having Nifty kill the first man was so good and so fun.
Like, you get the Alastor versus Adam duel, where it's just like, Adam, first man next to die.
Just awesome. I love
And
Alistar.
You go through that whole fight. Alastor leaves wounded, and like Adam wins it. And then at the very end of it, Adam, at the end of the battle, just lies defeated. And you think that they're gonna just let him go and do the cliche fucking cartoon ending, where they let the villain go and they'll come back later. And like we're both sitting here cursing the screen at it.
It's like, come on.
And then Nifty just comes up with a fucking pair of scissors and just starts stabbing.
Charlie told me to stab, so I did. What an iconic line. Like, it's a great season. Like, it didn't quite make my top 5. It's definitely top 10. I thought it was so good. I love Angel Dust. I love Charlie. I love Alastor. I love Nifty. I love Husker. Season's so good.
Also, just to note, Smiling Friends did originally have this spot. I moved it into my honorable mentions because I think that the drama and the character writing from Has Been Hotel has the potential, and like they've set up enough for the future to supersede the amazing stuff we got from Smiling Friends. Smiling Friends season 2. I cannot understate how good it is. It has one bad episode.
Yeah, neither of us like episode 5, Brother's Egg, but literally the other 7 episodes are just like some of the best stuff Adult Swim has ever done.
So, I'm so tired of working for Alastor.
Husker!
No.
We're changing your voice actor to Keith David, and you're about to do a music video with a spider twink. Husker! Husker! At my number 2, I got The Penguin. What else could it be? Another show just like Squid Game.
We have it in the same spot as well. My number 2 is also The Penguin.
Let's go! Let's go, baby!
You good?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Alright, Vic. I know we had a little tussle and everything else, but family and everything, it matters, alright? It drives you. That's what Twilight Sparkle told me. Now come on, get up. I ran your pockets, but you didn't have much in there, so it's not really. Do the little jig. Do. Come on, Vic. Well, do you have another wallet?
We're fine.
I really like The Penguin.
The Penguin is fucking fantastic, dude.
It's so fucking good. So a quick bit of context. This one, just like Squid Game, was something that I genuinely was not looking forward to at all. When they announced that they were doing an 8-episode spin-off based off of a character with almost no screen time in the Batman movie, I was like, okay, we don't need a spin-off for everyone. I was so fucking wrong. It came out, I watched episode 1 just kind of randomly. I was like, okay, this might be good. And after Oz shoots Alberto, I was immediately like, kind of like, okay. And then it just kept going. And by episode 4, I probably realized this was one of the best shows of the year by episode 4. Probably.
Mine was at the end of episode 2. Like, you get the ending of episode 1 as, like, Vic having cut the finger off of Alberto.
Yeah.
And just having Oz in the torture chair just smiling and laughing.
Yeah.
And you pretty much immediately know that this is going to be really fucking good. But there's also a part of your brain that comes with all cape shit in the modern day where you're just waiting for them to drop the ball. That you're just waiting for them to take the easy way out. Especially with a villain show. I have never... Like, this is the first villain show that I can remember that keeps him a villain.
Like, whenever a villain... It's like a lot of modern... Like, especially in America, Hollywood just does not want for an audience to follow a villain. They want us to follow an anti-hero. And this show, the Penguin, Oz literally tricks the audience, ourselves, into thinking that he is more altruistic than he actually is.
Like, there are times where even like after the show was over, like, oh, maybe he did mean some of these things, but
what does it matter? He's like, what does it matter now that we know what we know?
like he is effectively modeled after Al Capone.
Yeah.
And all of his
Bill, too.
charities and everything else. And it comes to such an amazing ending. It is probably my second favorite show of the year. It's interchangeable for my favorite ending, with one of the saddest scenes I have ever come across in TV.
When we watched it, so you were kind of laughing while it was happening. Though.
Yeah, like, I made a joke like, oh, I can't have that, Vic. And he just, I can't have that, Vic. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Ryan was joking. He was like, because we both, I remember when I watched it, I was thinking, okay, there's no reason for, like, Oz to do this. Like, we've seen scenes like this and stuff before, there's no reason for Oz to do this. And then Ryan, like, made the joke, so neither of us thought it would happen. And then you realize that's why it's so well written. Because Oz doesn't need to kill Vic.
He takes the money from his wallet, the money that he gave him!
Yes!
Takes his ID and throws it into the water to show that the flood still, after all this time, is what got him. Without the flood, he does not end up with Oz and does not get fucking murdered.
Like, essentially, Oswald taking Vic under his wing. Oz would be fucking dead if it weren't for Vic. And literally, here's how I describe it. The last episode is called A Great or Little Thing, and while I can't say for absolute sure what that means, for me, I think it's, to Vic, Oz was this great thing, the most important thing in his life. But to Oz, killing Vic was just another thing that he has to do to maintain his status.
Like, to us, the killing of Vic is also a great evil. Like, it is such a terrible, terrible act that it turns Oz from maybe he can be sympathetic to, okay, he is one of the worst people ever to be written. Not in terms of character. Amazing character. But in terms of morality, he might be, like, up there with, like, Nicole from Class of 09.
Honorable mentions for the Class of 09 anime. Yeah, because we've seen evil Dark Lord characters. Like, it's easy to make a character like, I don't know, like Sauron evil or Voldemort evil, but Oz is just a man. He was a boy. He was a baby once. And he is it's like his mother says, like, you're the devil. I've been living with the devil in my house. That might be the best scene in the show, the interrogation scene, where Sophia is about to have a Scarecrow, like, or who we assume is Scarecrow, like, cut off his mother's pinky. And she's like, I won't do it as long as you admit that you killed your brothers. And we don't know for sure whether Oz is just gaslighting himself as to whether he didn't do it, or whether he just can't bring himself to say it. But he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, I didn't kill him. Like, Oz, there's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer to Oz. It's incredible.
Yeah. Hats off to everybody at HBO for creating what is probably the best superhero fiction I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's got us incredibly hyped for the continuation of the Matt Reeves Batman universe, because I need to see Bruce lay the fucking smackdown on Oz's forehead.
I will say, there have been, I've watched a lot of reactions, a lot of different YouTube reviews and everything of it. One in particular kind of stands out to me. It's not like the Angry Joe show. They do usually video games and movies and occasional TV. Joe is not the person that I'm like saying, hey, like, you might have missed the point here.
Oh.
But it doesn't even have to do necessarily with the Penguin. It kind of calls back to your House of the Dragon one.
Yeah.
Where he said like, oh, I don't know his name, but he said, oh, House of the Dragon, whenever they went to do like the evil, terrible thing, they would like cut away from it and sanitize it.
Oh.
But here they just show it. And, like, yeah, they do show it here. I don't understand why you need that completely and totally filled in. But the other, like, to Like that's just one thing that I remembered as I was going over the point.
Like to be completely honest, I do not know why so many of you needed to see little Jaehaerys get his head cut off, but y'all need help. Like the squelching and the bone was enough. But anyway, go on.
The other thing that this is that whether or not HBO picks this up for a season 2 because it didn't have as good numbers, like it does not need a season 2. It is stated to not get a season 2. It is here to set up for the Batman 2.
Yeah, like Oz is now going to Oz before the Penguin is a fun character, but now we are going into the Batman Part 2 with basically Oz. We followed him for so long. We followed him for more than we followed Bruce now. So like I don't think Penguin needs a season 2. I think whatever Matt Reeves wants to do with the character and the universe is fine. I'm just so glad we have like an amazing piece of superhero fiction going on right now that we can actually look forward to and that hopefully won't drop the ball.
I hope and pray that Catwoman doesn't ruin this because she was the worst part of Batman 2022, and she looks to be heavily involved with Sophia's plotline. Which, by the way, Sophia,
oh my god!
I can't believe we hadn't brought her up until this point, but she might be one of the best female leads of the past 30 years.
Like, she is so interesting. I did mention earlier, after episode 4, I knew this was one of the best shows of the year. The scene where she gasses everyone in the house and then walks in with that, like, yellow dress and gas mask, like, opening all the windows, is so badass. It's so cool.
Yeah. Watch the Penguin.
Watch the Penguin, dude.
Watch the Batman 2022, and then watch the Penguin.
Yeah.
This motherfucker tried to tell me to skip the Batman 2022 because he desperately wanted me to watch the show.
I did not think he was going to watch the show. He does not like superhero stuff.
At all.
But the Penguin! The Penguin's different.
Like, if I am telling you to watch the Penguin, watch the Penguin.
Alright, Vic. We're going over our top shows of 2024. At number 1, what's yours?
My number 1 show of the year was has been Hotel Oz. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean a lot to me, Vic.
You mean a lot to me too, Oz. You're like family. Oz?
Family, huh?
Oz?
Family of mine wouldn't put some cringe-ass bullshit like Has Been Hotel!
It's not cringe, it's fun! It's not cringe, Oz!
Over. My number 1 is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
My little pony, my little pony. My little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be.
Alright.
Is our reaction great?
Not anymore.
Why, bro? Why?
There we go. Okay, finally, number 1.
Number 1 is a little show. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was an indie project, right?
On a budget of $250 million.
Called Arcane.
It is... It's not a new...
So much unnecessary pain.
Where's his wallet? Where's his wallet? Where's his fucking wallet? Fucking new IP. It's been like the IP has existed since 2011, but this is the best version of it. And frankly, I don't know how there's a significant amount of people who are saying that this was like a mistake. Like season 2 was poorly made in any way.
I probably, like, I genuinely am starting to get on TikTok less because the amount of, like, just genuinely brain-dead opinions I have seen about Arcane Season 2 on there is so absurd. And the season does have issues. Do not misunderstand me. It, like, there are a few problems with the season, but oh my god!
The issues that I have with the season, I'll just go ahead and get them out of the way. There's very few of them because it is, in my opinion, it is like one of the main things that people bring up is pacing.
Yeah.
disagree entirely. It has the exact same pacing as season 1.
Yeah.
The exact same. Three episode structures with character-driven moments throughout it. Pretty much all of the bulk and excess is cut in favor of just pushing the plot forward.
And it even, like, there are so many parallels to season 1.
One of my issues with it is, like, Savika's plotline kind of gets, like, thrown out of the window
Yeah.
at one point. There are a significant amount of characters that I would have liked to see interact a little bit more in depth. We get basically
Yep.
one scene of Jinx and Victor interacting.
And it was amazing. I
It
loved
was
it.
amazing, but, like, for basically our two, like, protagonists, like, in my opinion, the show, like, season 1 is the Jinx plotline and her being, like, the villain of the show, and season 2 is the Victor plotline with him being the villain of the show. Having
Yeah.
those two interact and showing the differences between their ideologies and everything would have made it a little bit better, but that's fan fiction. And that's one of the things I wanted to say is, like, you cannot argue against your idealistic vision of the show, what you would
Yes.
have done in their stead.
Because, like, going into season 2, the biggest thing I said is that I really want to see a Victor and Jinx team up. And I didn't get that. But what I did get was individually their characters being as interesting as they could possibly be.
Jinx, Victor still keeps #1 character spot of the show for me. Jinx got really fucking close near the end.
Like, the only thing... So, what a lot of people feel... I feel like what a lot of people are misconstruing is that for me, like... A lot of people are saying, oh, like, they focus way too much on Jace and Victor in the last episode and not as much on Jinx and Vi. It's like, Jinx and Vi... Jace and Victor are basically not in the first 5 episodes at all. Like, they start to get stuff in episode 6, but those first 6 episodes are about Jinx and Vi. And the emotional climax of their story, in my opinion, is the end of episode 5 and the end of episode 6. Like, they take a back seat in the last 3 episodes because the show is said about all it can with them, and then Jinx essentially, like, gives Vi an idealized version of herself, a version of herself that would sacrifice herself for the greater good, gets on an airship, leaves to work herself out, at least in my opinion. And the last episode focusing mostly on Jace and Victor, I think, was a wonderful idea because the show is fucking called Arcane!
Like, Victor and Jace's relationship was always the most interesting aspect of the show for me. Even back in season 1, I felt that Victor's character arc was probably, like, had the most potential out of any of the cast. And he has that in stride in season 2. Now, a lot of the people who were fans of Victor before Arcane are upset because it didn't go down the exact same route that he does, like, in his previous lore.
But as a longtime League player for him, and I've never played League before, both of us loved it.
The version that we got here keeps all of the primary aspects to Victor's character arc. Like, he has the transhumanism, he has the hatred for emotion, he has the basically self-hatred that made him want to rid himself of his humanity. He has everything and more, as well as one of the best redesigns I have ever seen.
Like, he goes from looking like a really cool robot to a genuinely abstract-looking god.
Like, he is... The design they have for him in the final episode is how I imagine they were talking about, whenever they were talking about, like, otherworldly eldritch beings. Like, it is
Terrifying.
absurd.
And the way... Okay, can we just shout out the sound mixing and the voice mixing in this season? Every single line of dialogue feels like it's mixed perfectly. If anyone is, like, in a tunnel, it echoes perfectly. Jace's voice coming out of Sallow in episode 6, when he says, "Would you like to speak with him?" Jace. Like, it sounds so smooth. And it just... And the animation... Let's just glaze the animation for a second.
I don't know how the fuck they made it look better than Season 1. Because Season 1 has some all-timer animation, but Season 2 has so many tiny things that add up to just absurd levels of quality.
Like, the war in the last episode looks so good, and in my opinion, Jason Victor's disappearance scene is just the best animated thing in CGI. Like, in 3D animation, that is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Every single character is given such intense care.
Yeah.
Echo goes from
Oh my
being
god.
a fairly good character in season 1, I'd say like a high A in season 1,
Yeah.
to just one of my favorites of all time.
Like I'm not like, as far as like character traits I really find interesting, like selflessness and self-sacrifice I do find really interesting, but the way that Echo's self-sacrifice and his like heroism is portrayed genuinely made like it makes, I think it should make everyone want to be a better person. Episode 7 is beautiful. Seeing him get everything he could ever want and have the choice to stay and choosing to leave and getting nothing that he wants, but being the savior of humanity is absolutely incredible.
Just as a slight tangent, if you didn't get the shipping ending that you wanted, do not hold that against the show. Jace and Victor were never meant to be a romantic pairing.
What you did get was one of the most interesting character dynamics I have ever seen in my entire life. The fact that, now this was not an original opinion, I saw this on a comment somewhere, but the fact that Victor needs for Jace to both hate him enough to shoot him, and he needs for him to understand him enough to be able to make it disappear, to do everything he needs him to do. So he takes him to the future, and Jace has to go from the lowest point of Zaun to the highest tower in Piltover to understand both Victor's point of view and to understand just how terrible the arcane that they're messing with really is. And it turns Jace from an amazing character to one of my favorites of all time. And the way that he talks to Victor right before they disappear is just absolutely heartbreakingly beautiful.
So in season 1, there was probably, like, the entire season was great, but there was like 2 episodes that stick out more than anything else. The base violence necessary for change and what could have been.
With season 2,
there's like 5.
Like, in my opinion, there are like 4 episodes in season 2 that I could consider could just be the best episode of the show and some of the best episodes of modern television. When I finished Blisters in Bedrock episode 5, I was like, yeah, that is the best episode of the show.
And then you got hit with episode 6.
And then episode 6 was the best episode of the show. And then episode fucking 7 happened. Which might just actually be the best episode of the show if it weren't for episode 9.
It constantly one-upped itself throughout it, and I cannot help but say, like, thank you to Fortiche, thank you to Riot Games. Netflix, you were there too, you were a distributor, so like,
Yeah. Like, you gave us a wonderful season of television. The only thing that I was worried about going into it was the absence of Silco, and somehow they managed to fix that by filling his antagonist spot in with 2 S-tier antagonists in Singed and Mbessa. 2 fucking incredible villains.
So, Singed stayed in the backdrop for the entire series. He was never what people thought of when they thought of, like, this is our primary antagonist. But looking at each movement that he makes throughout both seasons of the show are all leading to the ending that he got, which means that for the entire run of the series, he was our primary antagonist that we just did not focus on.
And I thought that was incredible. Like, and all of his scenes where he's talking to people like, anyone Singed decides to talk to, it's going to be an S-tier scene. Him talking to Victor is great. I love the scene where he's talking to Caitlyn. He's talking to Mbessa, and he looks at Mbessa and says, what was it that he said? He said, "It's always the same look when someone covets a weapon." Like, that is Tarantino dialogue. That is awesome.
The only thing that I have an issue with Singed is the cheesiness at which he delivers the line of, like, what does anybody do anything for? For love. Like,
no one said it was the most original line, you know, but it's good. Mbessa is also she could kill me and I wouldn't care. Like, if Mbessa walked in right now and said, "You two, you are part of my Noxian army," and we said, "No, we don't want to go," and she just literally came up and just murdered the fuck out of me, I would be like, yeah, that was a life well lived.
I'd let her do it. I'd walk away. You've seen her character design. She
She's-
could kill you.
She is terrifying and so well written. Oh my god.
Really had to save that one, huh?
Yeah, I'd say that one. I love Ambessa, dude. I love Arcane. I love Arcane, Charlie. I love Arcane. He's so good. And when Aisha like shoots Warwick in the face, bro, and then fucking dies, bro.
Anyway, so that's our top 5 seasons of 2024. Hope you enjoyed. We will be going more in depth into Arcane at a later date for the series Critically Inclined, but we don't have a date on that. It could come out in the next month or in the next 10 years. Good luck.
My boy, this is a new song I wrote called Spin the Wheel.
Professor? Professor?
Go spin the wheel and see where it lands.
I don't know any of you people.
And if you love that journey
Why does she look
more
like that?
than the
Why does she look
end,
like that?
just turn that hourglass around and count to
Different
10. They say goodbye no more. This shit just began.
Hey guys, Ryan here for one last thing. Make sure that you like, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. If you were able to sit through an hour, I imagine you enjoyed somewhat of it. God, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it! Fuck it! It ain't worth it! It ain't worth it! I'm not doing this YouTuber shit. But just do it or you'll end up getting Oz'd. Like, I'll do it. I'll fucking do it.